All right, shalom, and welcome to another Bible study that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. My name is Esaac ben Israel, and I'm the elder priest of the United Congregation of Israel. And I'm joined here with Brother Elias. Shalom, my brother.
Hey, shalom.
All right, so we're going to get into a few questions that we received. And I want to, as I read this first one, I have to offer congratulations as well. Brother says, my wife Shekaniah is pregnant, and we both don't know yet if it's male or female. However, to better prepare, I wanted to understand the law regarding firstborn sons and circumcision. So, first off, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Let's go to Exodus chapter 13. Exodus chapter 13, and let's start with verses 1 through 2.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whatsoever openeth up the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and of beast, it is mine.
All right, now we have these things because, you know, we say, okay, this is the law, but we have to think back that when you have the difference between an accepted offering and an unaccepted offering, it all came down to what? First, all right? Cain gave of some things. Abel gave the first of his increase, all right? So when you're talking about giving honor to something, then that is the beginning of your increase. And we, a lot of times, even when we give the last of what we have. Matter of fact, we take care of everything that we want to take care of. And then we decide what we're going to give by what's left over. So this is the nature of how we operate in the daughter of Babylon, and basically in the world, because this is what we see before us. We haven't been raised to believe in Yahweh. We think we were, but in the grand scheme of things, we don't have to worry about. Some of us don't even know if hey man, it was exceptionally hot when it should have been cold. But that mean us. I keep a coat in the car. No. If you were growing something and the freeze came at the wrong time, you realize you just lost all of them? Mm-hmm. See, that don't mean anything to you when you have a Walmart. Okay? It doesn't mean anything. So the whole concept of first is lost when you get to how we have been given things and we're set up in these all-inclusive cities, if you will, and they're setting up things and setting up boundaries for things to be so concentrated that you will never leave your neighborhood, because you come outside the neighborhood, you have a store right there, you have a gas station, you have this, you have that. You never need to leave that community. And if you go up to in certain communities, as you go further and further out, you'll find out, man, some of these places have a store in the very community. It's not even like up the street. It'll be like 5 houses and a store next to the 5th house. It is designed for them to never leave that community. So we never get to thank Yahweh. We never get to depend on him. And when you don't see that this, comes from something, then you say, I just, go back down to Walmart. So the whole part of the first is lost on us, and what helps us do that? When you get your check, somebody that already hit the first before you get it. That FICA dude, he already got you. So you trying to get Yahweh your first, and somebody else already got it. They got it before you got it. So the whole concept of the first is something that is more difficult to understand, and part of that is not really our fault. It's part of our fault because of us being disobedient and getting here, but how things are set up does not give us the true understanding of that. Now jump down to verse 12.
That thou shalt set apart unto Yahweh all that openeth the matrix.
The Matrix is the womb. We watched this movie, and I said, man, this is my favorite movie. When the Matrix came out, it was the bomb. I loved it, and then it started getting strange. After a while, I was like, I don't know what I'm really watching here, But the whole part, I mean, they got electrical cords and in the back of heads, and you're like, what in the world is this? The Matrix is the womb. They were growing people and then using the people for energy, which is on a certain scale they've always been doing. Okay, so it was a real play and twist on things for that time, but a lot of people believe that it's some things that they are trying to do. So when you talk about what the Matrix is, it is the womb. Go ahead.
And every firstling that cometh of a beast which thou hast, the males shall be Yahweh's. And every firstling of an ass that thou shalt redeem with a lamb.
If you redeem it, then you're not offering that up, okay? You're using something else in the stead of that. Go ahead.
If thou wilt not redeem it, then thou shalt break his neck, and all the firstlings of man among thy children shalt thou redeem.
All the firstborn of man among children you shall redeem. So he's letting you know, all right, now we're not going to be sacrificing the firstborn. Now, the firstborn is sanctified, which is set apart. And when you talk about set apart, this is the beginning of your strength. This is the beginning of your legacy as a man. This is what's going to carry on your bloodline. See, the females will marry and bring forth somebody else's bloodline. The males will reproduce and bring forth your bloodline. Go ahead.
And it shall be, when thy sons asketh thee in times to come, saying, What is this? That thou shalt say unto him, By strength of hand Yahweh brought us out from Egypt, from the house of bondage. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh would hardly let us go, that Yahweh slew all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn of man, the firstborn of beasts. Therefore I sacrifice to Yahweh all that openeth the matrix, being males, but all the firstborn of my children I redeem.
So, to show our honor unto Yahweh, then the first of what we have belongs to him. We kind of forget that. So the more that we get, the more we start to consume. So then it gets to a point where we never even think about that. When you look at, because the question is how to deal with, this whole part of the firstborn. You have to think back to Hannah's prayer. That was her firstborn, Samuel, whom she offered. She said, look, I don't have any children, but if you bless me with a man child, I give him to Yahweh. And I mean, when she said give him, she meant give him. I mean, she dropped him off. She dropped him off. And I mean, you're talking about something that's pretty powerful, because you have this is a patriarchal society, meaning that it is governed and ran by the men. But when this woman uttered this out of her mouth, her husband has so much respect for her, knowing how she's longed for this. He let her do it. He had absolutely nothing to say about it. here is, the thing. When we come as men, sometimes we want to, solve every problem that our wives have. So we want to put on the cape, you know what I'm saying, the little tight with the red drawers, and we want to fly right in. And every problem that is presented, we want to do it. Then you have to ask yourself, then what is Yahweh's job if you gonna solve all her problems? What's Yahweh's job? Where does he sit? And are you sitting in his seat? Because if he gets to the point where now he tries to fulfill this, you understand he getting in Yahweh's way, right? Because Yahweh need this priest who's going to be a bad cat. I'm talking about this is the first of the greatest prophets and when we talk about Samuel. Well, that don't come out if the man try to solve all his wife's problems. What if he do like Abraham and Sarah? Well, why don't you marry, what's your name now? And then have a baby by her, and I'll present that child. Okay. That one didn't work out either, did it? Yahweh didn't accept Ishmael. He did not accept him. No. Yes, the man bring forth the seed. But there's certain situations where he said, no. I'm picking what comes from this woman and this man. Not this man and somebody else. No. This man and this woman. And ain't nothing you gonna do to change that. And this situation set forth, she was in, deep need. So if her husband has seen her cry, she's crying because of this situation. She is not brought forth, a child. Okay, and then this man has two wives, and the other wife is kind of laughing because what kind of woman are you? You don't have no kid. So she's taunting her. Okay, as a man, do you then try to jump in and save the day when she becomes pregnant? Here it is. She's got what she wants, but she said, "I'm gonna give it up." Do you then jump in and say, no, I know how much you've wanted this child. We're gonna hold this child real close. Hug this child every night in your bosom. Because this is what you've been desiring. Did you just get in Yahweh's way? Now what you think he's gonna do to move you? Interesting. There's some things that we have to think about. So this firstborn then grew to be one of the greatest prophets, and it came out of this desperate situation, but it was that firstborn. We get to, dedicate, if you will, our firstborn and still have the child. Hannah gave hers up. And she gave it up, and what she gave up became a gift unto all of Israel. All of Israel fared better when Samuel was in charge. And then what happened? She gave up her first, then she had other children after that. So she went from none to several. All that time with none. And this is what get us, caught up. We'll look at all the time that we have nothing and think that that's going to be it. And then Yahweh bring forth something, and now we got more than we can even fit in. And now we're talking about expanding the house because we can't fit all these children in it. But what happened if you panic too much when you didn't have anything? That's something that we need to think about. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 12. There was also, it says regarding circumcision, is circumcision mandatory on the 8th day? I'm not sure if there's a spirit of the law application to this on this matter. I know when a male child is circumcised, he is a debtor to do the whole law. I don't want to make a decision without knowledge regarding this matter. All right. Leviticus chapter 12, and let's start it at verse 1.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a woman have conceived seed, born a man child, then she shall be unclean 7 days, according to the days of the separation, for her infirmity shall she be unclean. And in the 8th day the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised, and she shall then continue in the blood of her purifying 33 days.
Now, you have to, really pay attention to how Yahweh does things. There's this thing where he has a 7-day sanctification period right here. On the 8th day, the woman is then able to go, and you have, it's just how he did this, because the whole time now she's bleeding, okay? The blood does not stop after 7 days, okay? She still has periodic, things that are coming out. But what Yahweh has here, that she shall be unclean 7 days. On the 8th day, the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised. Then he jumps to verse 4. And she shall then continue in the blood of her purifying 33 days. He called that purifying. He said straight unclean the first 7. Why he separate those? So that this business right here can be taken care of. So he has this set up, and the question is, is there a spirit of the law? Now, if you understand anything about dealing in Babylon, you know that this kind of timing is something, because you may not always be able to get something on the 8th day, because the way they operate here, they throwing you out of the hospital. It used to be a point where and a procedure happened and they let you sit in the hospital. Now they liable to just roll you out the back door with some crutches. They act like you like a giraffe. The baby, when the giraffe is born, it just stumbles for a minute. They ready to push you out. It's some different kind of stuff. So you have to really try to do some orchestrating to try and get this done on the 8th day. And what you do the best you can. But understand, we're not in our land. We try to do something like this. You have to deal with what's most important. What's most important is the circumcision. Okay? Don't put all the energy on the day in which the circumcision happened. I can't tell you what day I got circumcised. I can tell you I'm circumcised. I can't tell you what the day was. So don't be careful about, trying to get every nook and cranny of that law to the point where you end up not doing the deed. Go ahead, did you have something?
Yeah, my boys were circumcised on the 8th day, but the doctor actually, it wasn't in the hospital. He actually made the appointment in the doctor's office and circumcised them. And then I discovered later on that medically, after the 8th day, the vitamin K in the baby is the highest that it has ever been. So it actually plays a role in clotting, so that when you do the circumcision, the baby is able to heal. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Yahweh is a genius whether or not you knew it or not.
Yeah.
See, this is our problem. You know what I'm saying? We find out, we be like, oh my God, I done found out something. All you have to do what the hell you were told. You ain't got to find out nothing. We be so amazed. Oh my God, look at this. Yeah, just do what you told. And you ain't got to worry about, what the blood do. But, we got to deal with Babylon. So we have to, end up finding out some of these things. And it does end up being amazing. Like, wow, look at that. Now, the question is, did our fathers ever know anything like that? How would they? How would they know that? Did they look one time and some kid was, circumcised on the 8th day, and another kid got, circumcised on the 12th day, and they looking at that kid like, hey man, what's wrong with him? Why he crying so much? Did they look and notice something like that? Cause you know now, one thing, whether or not we have science and all this other stuff, you know what we always have? Eyes for observance. And we'll sit there and look and say, that's peculiar. Let's see if the next one that just so happened to be late, let's see how that one act. So, and you consider something, and I was mentioning this to someone not too long ago, that around my age group, there were all these young black boys who were uncircumcised. They went on a campaign in the hospitals in Atlanta, Georgia, making reasons why these boys did not receive a circumcision. And I'm talking about a lot of all in the same group in a period of a couple of years. And a lot of these hospitals, a lot of people tell you, I'm a graded baby, I'm a graded baby. Well, there was another hospital around here that was ran by the Ish. So then you got to ask yourself, well, wait a minute, wait. So there was a Ish ran hospital. Don't think that graded just because, a whole bunch of black people go there that other people don't have control. But who mandated this program that a large amount of black boys were kept from getting circumcised? And all I had to do for most of them is block the first part. We never go back. Yeah. That's all they had to do.
Yeah.
That's it. And it was done. And if it wasn't for diving in this word, I wouldn't have went back. That's all they had to do was hold us back from that 8th day. And none of us ever went back again. So that's why I tell you, be careful about, the timing part, and you get so caught up on that timing that you don't get it done. All right? You don't want to be 25 years old when you get it done. You will definitely remember every one of those days. I do guarantee you that. But we do other stuff that's painful for no reason at all. These stupid tattoos I got on here was stupid pain. It was pain for no reason than my own vanity. Go ahead, bro.
All right. Verse 4. And she shall then continue in the blood of her purifying 30 days. She shall touch no hollow thing, nor come into the sanctuary, until the days of her purifying be fulfilled.
Right. Try to explain that to people who are Sunday morning worshipers, that there's a purification that has to go on, and they look at you like you're crazy. Says she shall not come into the sanctuary. Go ahead.
But if she bear a maid child, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks, as in her separation, and she shall continue in the blood of her purifying 66 days. And when the days of her purifying are fulfilled, for a son or for a daughter, she shall bring a lamb of the first year for a burnt offering, and a young pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering, unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation unto the priest, who shall offer it before Yahweh, and make an atonement for her, and she shall be cleansed from the issue of her blood. This is the law for her that hath borne a man or a female. And if she be not able to bring a lamb, then she shall bring 2 turtles or 2 young pigeons, the one for the burnt offering and the other for a sin offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for her, and she shall be clean.
Right, and that is 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons. All right, let's go to John chapter 7. John chapter 7, and I want you to start at verse 19.
Did not Moshe give you the law, and yet none of you keepeth the law? Why go ye about to kill me? The people answered and said, Thou hast a devil. Who goeth about to kill thee?
Now, Yeshua knew their own thoughts before they knew. He like, I know y'all gonna try to kill me. Y'all already plotting to kill me. And if they call Yeshua a devil, we really ought to get prepared. How much more shall they call them of his household? If they call the master of the house Beelzebub. So we can't get offended at every little thing. Go ahead.
Yeshua answered and said unto them, I have done one work, and ye all marvel. Moshe therefore gave unto you circumcision, not because it is of Moshe's, but of the fathers. And ye on the Sabbath day circumcise a man.
Right, because they said, okay, the 8th day, this has to be done. You can't move. Wasn't no day 0. Let that be for all those people who had those funny calendars. Ain't no day 0. If that 8th day fell on the Sabbath, done deal. That circumcision had to be done. See, so all these day 0 people, you said, okay, here go another problem with somebody's manufactured calendar. When do you get your circumcision? What happened if you own this perfectly designed system and you end up with a day 0? What does that do about that? Go ahead.
Verse 23. If a man on the Sabbath day receive circumcision, that the law of Moshe should not be broken, or ye anger at me because I have made a man every whit whole on the Sabbath day? Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment.
Now, verse 23 says, if a man on the Sabbath day receives circumcision, a child is supposed to be circumcised on the 8th day. But what if it's a grown man? Wait a minute. He says, if a man on the Sabbath day receives circumcision that the law of Moshe should not be broken, are you angry at me? What happened if the only way he can keep that according to the law, the only way you're gonna be able to go to this holy day or go to this, Gentiles at that point couldn't just walk up in, the temple. So what if this man wants a circumcision, and according to these days, he need to get that so he can heal by time for this holy day? Are we not gonna do it? Something that we have to think about. Go to Galatians chapter 5. Because there was something else that was said, and we want to deal with that. Galatians chapter 5, and we're going to start that at verse 1. Did you have something?
Yeah, I wanted to say, when the Israelites came out of the wilderness, all those kids that were born in the wilderness in them 40 years, some of them were men. They weren't circumcised. They had to get a circumcision, but a lot of them
Yahweh
were grown.
wasn't interested in them getting the circumcision until after all their parents died off. He wasn't interested. And after that, then everybody, getting taken care of. You have to wonder, what kind of circumcision would it have been? It would have been on time, but where? Interesting. Galatians chapter 5, and let's start that at verse 1.
Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith the Mashiach made us free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage.
Now, this is one of the things that people read all the time when they're saying, we don't have to do anything about this law. Now, of course, what we're doing is reading the things that were about the Gentiles, and then those things are even being put forth to us. And they're not even being dealt with right according to the Gentiles. Keep reading.
Behold, I, Saul, say unto you, that if ye be circumcised, The Mashiach shall profit you nothing.
Stop. Who he talking to? Where's Galatia? There you go. So you got French people that he talking to. We then take this like he talking to the whole world. We done made this about us. Now, he's talking to people who were not given circumcision. He said, whoa. If you circumcised, Christ shall profit you nothing. That's not the door that you came through. See, the door that was given to Israel includes circumcision. The door that was given to the Gentiles did not include circumcision. Why are you going back to a law that you don't know nothing about? You wasn't taught any law like that. Why are you going through that? And I can tell you why. Because amongst him was also other Jews. And as he's teaching one thing, the other Jews is pushing them Gentiles. Yeah, you need to get this circumcision, and you need to do such and such. So it began to be a big point of contention whether or not they should do all of these things that are contained in the law. So that they got to have, all these, big forums, if you will, and speak on this matter. All because other brothers have come out to spy out their liberty and say, no, y'all need to do this. And it was never given unto them. So, keep reading.
For I testify again to every man that is circumcised, that he is a debtor to do the whole law.
Now, part of what I was hearing in that question was, not wanting to like bind the child. Let me tell you something. You are a Jew, and you rested in the law, and you are governed and taught according to the law. Whatever choice you thought you had, it was a mistake. It was a mistake. You mistakenly thought you had a choice. This is that point. When you try to negotiate with your daddy. When you about 14 and you smelling all yourself, and you say something, and he said, if it sounded like a question, I must have said it wrong. Would you like for me to say it again? If you heard or thought that this was a question, he's talking to Galatians, to the people of God. That don't apply to you. That circumcision is what you're supposed to get done. So, whatever, this right here causes us some problems because we jump in the middle of this book and we start going in there. No, stop thinking you got a choice. Understand, there's two paths. All right? And you got to know which path belongs to you. Go ahead, brother. Did you have something?
Yes. Didn't Moshe think he had a choice? They got taken care of, right?
With Moshe thinking he had a choice, it was quite interesting. Here it is. He married a foreign woman. Okay? Circumcision ain't her culture. Surely Yahweh would have been understanding, that he married this foreign woman. And I mean, surely Yahweh would be understanding. Matter of fact, Yahweh tells him just how much power he's going to give him and tell him that he's going to do all these great things. And then Yahweh, pretty much says, I'm about to kill you. You got to think about what kind of mind, twist that was. To be told these great things that you're going to do, you're going to represent my name. Oh, by the way, I'm going to kill you. Why are you going to kill me? Because you got them two little uncircumcised boys that you dragging up. And I'm telling you, I'm trying to help you. You don't know this people like I know this people. Boy, Yahweh did them a solid. Because let me tell you something. Israel is something. Man, we are something else. Okay? You do good by us, we still tear you down. Let me tell you something. So he go up there and stand amongst them. He already has a foreign woman with him. And then you gonna show up with uncircumcised kids? boy, this would have been ugly. So understand, how Yahweh deals with these things. I mean, you're talking about situations where there were no opportunities for certain things to be done. Yahweh still hold you accountable when that time comes. He still hold you accountable when it come. All right, your grace period is over. Yeah, I knew you hadn't got it done over here. But if you cross this line without getting it done, you're going to die. Go ahead.
Verse 4. The Mashiach is become of no effect unto you. Whosoever of you are justified by the law, you are fallen from grace. For we through the Spirit wait for the hope of righteousness by faith. For in Yahshua the Mashiach neither circumcision availeth anything, nor uncircumcision, but faith which worketh by love. Ye did run well. Who did hinder you that you should not obey the truth? This persuasion cometh not of him that calleth you. A little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. I have confidence in you through the Adonai, that ye will be none otherwise minded, but he that troubleth you shall bear his judgment.
He that troubleth you brought you another doctrine. He brought you something that you were not taught. See, this is that little thing whereby we sow little seeds of discord to get people to think on other lines. That's what this is. When the Gentiles were given one thing, but somebody else comes in and sows discord talking about the circumcision, and they get pulled off. So then he's got to tell them, you do understand that once you do that, you're a debtor to do the whole law. That was always there with us. Go ahead.
And I, brethren, if I yet preach circumcision, why do I yet suffer persecution? Then is the offense of the cross ceased? I would they were even cut off which trouble you.
And the people that troubling them is us. Go ahead.
For, brethren, ye have been called unto liberty. Only use not liberty for an occasion to the flesh, but by love serve one another. For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. But if ye bite and devour one another, take heed that ye be not consumed one of another. This I say then, walk in the Spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusteth against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary the one of the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. But if ye be led of the Spirit, and ye are not under the law, now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these.
All right, that's as far as I want to go right there. Let's go to James chapter 2. I don't know what that tickle is. Can't get it out of here. James chapter 2, let's start at verse 8.
If ye fulfill the royal law according to the scripture, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, ye do well.
All right, so if you shall fulfill the royal law, there are a whole lot of things that you have to understand in the law to be able to love your neighbor as yourself. There are things that says, even when it comes down to if I borrow something from my neighbor, when you understand what that law says, there's certain things that you won't even let people give you. If man said, hey, man, I just got this, this fine Mercedes, bruh. You go on and drive it. Nope. Because if that tire, I don't have the money to fix that. It's a fine automobile. I'm going to watch it from the curve. I'm not getting in that. Why? Because I want to love my neighbor as myself. See? I don't want that to die in my hands. And then my neighbor looking at me, what you do? Man, it was sick when you gave it to me. How am I going to prove that? Go ahead.
But if ye have respect of persons, ye commit sin, and are convinced of the law as transgressors. For whosoever shall keep the whole law, and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all.
All right, now this is where it gets interesting, because people say, well, y'all entangled with that bondage. See? All right, so it starts talking about law, right? All right, now let's read the law as it is written. Go ahead.
For he that said, do not commit adultery,
said
also, do not kill.
Wait a minute. All this is law. All right? Now, the same people who walk around talking about do not be entangled with the yoke of bondage, soon as somebody commit adultery with their spouse, they upset. Soon as somebody kill one of their family members, they upset. Why? Why are you entangled with that yoke of bondage? Why you care about this law? So what? Somebody broke it. Are they not free? Do not they have all things through Christ who strengthens them? Are they not more than conquerors? What? Oh, that only applies to you when you feel good? Go ahead.
Now, if thou commit no adultery, yet if thou kill, thou art become a transgressor of the law.
So it don't matter which one you broke then, huh? Okay, so we know that those are the commandments. We keep on going. One of those said, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. But now we got a problem. Now, the same one who said, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy, is the same one that said, do not kill. Now, if you did not kill, but you refused to keep the Sabbath holy, aren't you guilty? I'm just reading what it says. Are you not guilty? Wasn't it the same one? I'm pretty sure it was the same one. See, he didn't have to mention the Sabbath then, because they were keeping it. People say, no, you inserting something. No. I can read that. We can go and read the same place where adultery, do not kill. We can read those same things, and we keep on going. We're going to get to remember the Sabbath. You shall not defile the Sabbath. Okay. Same one said it. So if the same one said it, then that is a part of the law as well. Now, if we're going to, on one hand, saying that we're not entangled in this yoke of bondage, don't turn around and try to use the yoke of bondage when it fits you. If you're free of it, be free of it. You don't like it, don't like it. Don't like it when you can get some out of it and then go back to hating it when it didn't suit your particular cause. Go ahead, brother. You had something good?
No, Prince, you just said it. It's the same folks that will condemn certain things that are listed as abominations in the law, but then tell you that they can eat whatever they want to eat, and it's just a couple of chapters or whatever in the same book. You know, if you're gonna deal with it, deal with it. If not, leave it alone.
Right. It's interesting. I found it rather, it was a strange thing. Part of it I understand, part of it I didn't. When Joel Osteen announced that he had been eating clean according to the dietary law of, the Bible for, 5 years or some crazy thing, and had not shared any of that with his congregation. But understanding how they were going to fight against him, he needed to be at least steadfast in his own standing before they knew it. I don't think it should have took 5 years. You know, I don't think it should have been that long. But even anything that you're doing and you know you finna come under fire for you going on this next level, sometimes you got to stay on that level by yourself. You know, we get on the journey in day 4, and we done called all the family members. Now, guess what finna happen? All of them finna come against you. And now you are at a weakened state. Why? Because that's the beginning of your journey. Had you been further down in your journey before you mentioned it to everybody you encountered, you would have been stronger by the time the attacks came. So you're actually setting yourself up. Sometimes you got to get your own feet firmly planted before you show somebody else how to walk. Walk for a minute. That way, you know, instead of you calling them on your 3rd step, you done walked and failed a few times. Now, what happened when you call them too early? You start walking, but then you fall. You get back up, then you fall. What you just do till they walk? Now they don't want to walk. Why? Because you failed. You might want to walk a little bit before you start calling. Go ahead.
Verse 12. So speak ye, and do so, as they that shall be judged by the law of liberty. For he shall have judgment without mercy, that hath showed no mercy, and mercy rejoiceth against judgment.
All right. Let's go to Romans chapter 2. See, that whole nail to the cross thing sounds good until we realize that he's just dealing with certain aspects of the law. You know, it was, you know, quite a strange thing when out of nowhere Creflo wants to acknowledge that tithing came from the law. It was one of the strangest things, and then he says, you know what, I taught it wrong. I shouldn't have been teaching tithing as part of the law. I should have been teaching it in another aspect. This is the same one. Now, they're not supposed to be entangled with the yoke of bondage, right? He said if you don't tithe, you should be lined up in front of a firing squad and shot. Now, let me tell you what that was. That was not only law, but it was judgment. When you broke the law in the Old Testament, there was then stone, which was what the law was carved in. Stone, bits of stone, you broke the law, pieces of stone were then thrown at. So little pieces of the law were thrown at you until you died. He then offers, if you didn't tithe, you should be lined up in front of a firing squad and shot. So he didn't just deal with law, but he also dealt with great punishment. All right? All of that because you didn't contribute to the plane. Okay? So then we get into lying, stealing, adultery. None of those are held to that standard. This is what Yeshua had a problem with about the Pharisees. Wait. You talk about, tithing, but the weightier matters of the law, you omit those. He had a problem with that whole setup because you appear beautiful outward, but inside you're full of dead men's bones. So we have to understand that a game has been played on us when it comes down. And some of us, the game has been played so harshly upon us that even when we find the truth, now we're afraid to tithe because those things have been played with us mentally. We watched other people play with it. So now we don't want to deal with the word in its entirety when we get to it because of some past stuff that we saw along the way. Go ahead.
Oh, where do we start at?
We going to what? Romans 2?
Yeah.
Verse 17.
Behold, thou art called Jews, and rest in the law, and makest thou boast of Elohim.
Now, you are called a Yehudi, and you rest in the law, and make your boast of Elohim. Your stand as a Yehudi is totally different than those of the Gentile. So don't think that this whole talk of not dealing with the law, please don't think you were included in that conversation. Verse 16 says, in the day when Elohim shall judge the secrets of men by Yeshua the Mashiach, according to my gospel. If there's judgment, then there has to be law. Go ahead.
And knowest his will, and approvest the things that are more excellent, being instructed out of the law.
Wait. The children of Israel are being instructed out of the law. So you can take that whole, whoever is circumcised is a debtor to do the whole, you already instructed out of the law. So from the minute we went to church on Sunday morning, we was all out of order. Us, the pastor, and everybody in there. Why? Because we weren't being instructed out of the law. Now, back up some time. Before everything became about prosperity. You can go to church on Sunday morning and you would have got instructed out of the law. See, our problem is we just don't remember that. See, go back far enough to where you can find a preacher without or you can't see his suit because the robe is over the suit. Then you're going to find something. If you just got on the suit, you ain't hearing nothing. Back up to the point where you can't see the suit. Now you finna hear some word. Go ahead.
And art confident that thou thyself art guides, or a guide of the blind, a light of them which are in the darkness, an instructor of the foolish, a teacher of babes, which hast the form of knowledge and the truth in the law. Thou therefore which teachest another, teachest thou not thyself? Thou that preachest a man should not steal, dost thou steal?
Now, why would you teach that a man should not steal if the law is nailed to the cross and you don't have to do it? Why would you even teach that? Why would you need to teach that? So then we are now getting to a certain thing here and dealing with the law. Go ahead.
Thou that sayest a man should not commit adultery, dost thou commit adultery? Thou that abhorred idols, dost thou commit sacrilege?
And people say, you know what, this right here, is easy. You don't commit adultery. And people say, I don't commit adultery. Well, wait a minute. According to whose definition? Because, the Mashiach and even, the whole setup, he said it was this way from the beginning. He says, if you divorce your wife and marry another, you'll commit adultery. Now, think about coming up in the church and think about how many people was dating a person on pew 2 last year, and now they married to this other person on pew 5, and you looking all around, and no, they ain't got but one relationship at a time. But that one relationship at a time just keep jumping and jumping and jumping. And those individuals don't believe that they've committed adultery. But according to Yeshua, if a man leave his wife and marry another, he has committed adultery. And whomever marries her has committed adultery. Ooh. Hey, there's a whole lot of people think they ain't okay. And their feelings gonna get hurt. Their feelings are gonna get hurt. Because that statement that I just made wasn't in the Old Testament. That's New Testament. So if you don't believe in the Old and you don't believe in the New, I'm telling you, you don't believe in Yahweh. Go ahead.
Verse 23. Thou that makest thy boast of the law, through breaking the law, dishonoreth thou Elohim. For the name of Elohim is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you.
Now, through you. The name of Elohim is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you. You see how he separated them? Yet, we have allowed people to teach us this one-size-fits-all doctrine or this one-size-fits-all plan for salvation. That's not what we're reading here. He's talking directly to Israel, and then he says, this is the problem that you have caused them. If they're all the same, how you separate them? How you say you and them? If they all have one path, how can he separate that? Go ahead.
As is it written, for circumcision verily profiteth, if thou keep the law. But if thou be a breaker of the law, thy circumcision is made uncircumcision.
Well, wait a minute. So now, that whole question about the spirit of the law when it came down to this 8th day of the circumcision. Listen. Go ahead.
Therefore, if the uncircumcision keep the righteousness of the law.
Wait a minute. People say, ain't no such thing as the spirit of the law. Oh, man, you have some mad Israel come. What's the righteousness of the law? Therefore, if the uncircumcision are people who were not given the law. But if the people who were not given the foundation of the law keep the righteousness of the law. Now, remember now, they were warned not to do circumcision because it would make them a debtor to do the whole law. He said the righteousness of the law. So here it is. A lot of people, you know, and I understand the thought process. Oh, if this child gets circumcised and I've made that child a debtor to do the whole law. Is that child black? That child already a debtor to do the whole law. Thank you for coming out. God bless. Good night. Okay, now, when you dealing with somebody else and they get one of those, now you done put your child in something. See? Now here comes that question. Why? Because he was talking to Gentiles when he said that. So you were not given circumcision. Why are you walking around doing this? Go ahead.
Therefore, if the uncircumcision keep the righteousness of the law, shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision?
So then, wait a minute. He can be spiritually circumcised for a time, and it's counted as if he's circumcised because he has done the righteousness of the law in other things. Go ahead.
And shall not uncircumcision, which is by nature, if it fulfill the law, judge thee, who by the letter and circumcision dost transgress the law?
All right, listen.
For he is not a Yehudi, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision, which is outward in the flesh. But he is a Yehudi, which is one inwardly, and the circumcision is that of the heart, in the spirit, and not in the letter.
In the spirit of the law and not in the letter of the law. The letter of the law our fathers couldn't keep. We were in the land, had all animals for sacrifice, had everything we needed, and we couldn't keep the law. We couldn't keep the letter of that law. Go ahead.
Whose praise is not of men, but of Elohim.
Right. But he is not a Yehudi, which is one inwardly. And circumcision is that of the heart in the spirit and not in the letter. So that means that there's spiritual Israel. I get in a lot of problems with other Hebrews when I say stuff like that because they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that Yahweh has the ability to choose any man from any nation that he wants. And I don't understand how we have a problem with that. How does Rahab the harlot get to set up a legacy in Israel? A harlot. And this is also one of the things that my brother was talking about, how people will, say, oh, this such and such is an abomination, and this is a such and such. Wait a minute, man. That says there shall be no whores among the children of Israel. They had strict instructions. Make sure you go get that whore. What? Yeah, the whore that helped us, make sure you go get her. And anybody she want to bring, anybody who follow her, go get her. Now, she couldn't come in and continue to, she wasn't going to set up no righteous horse shop. Don't get it twisted. I got, Bibles, fringes, and you can come in the back for $19.95. No, that wasn't happening. Understand that. At that point, she's got to have that circumcised heart and walk according to Israel. But as long as she walked, she couldn't be condemned for a past. That is something we have to consider. Go ahead.
We read earlier where it was Yehudi of our people who were in amongst the Galatians that were trying to force them and speaking them to do as we were doing. I think that's where a lot of this hatred comes from. They want to make those people do what we have to do to become. They don't want that spiritual Israel thing. So it's like, no, we have to do this. You have to do this too. And right. I think that's where they get that hatred from.
Well, we learn that as kids. I tell people, when they have one kid, I tell them, oh, you a practice parent. That's so cute. They're like, what you mean I'm a practice parent? I know you just sitting in. You playing parent right now. You know what I'm saying? Your real parenting ain't showed up yet. Why? Till you get 2. And when you get 2, and you pour one of them some cereal, they said, I just want to eat the cereal. You pour one of them some cereal in their hand, and then you pour the other one, and you watch this. Hey, wait a minute, Daddy. Dad, I don't know if you know this or not, but you gave James more than me. James is 4 years older than you. Daddy, I'm not trying to hear that right now. I looked at his hand, and I looked at my hand, and I'm telling you, some Frosted Flakes better fall in that hand. That's all I'm saying, Daddy. I'm trying to tell you. Oh, yeah. I tell folks, enjoy your practice, child. That's practice. Enjoy that. Because when you get number 2, here come the games. Here come. And how you babied the first one and didn't take care of all those things, all that's coming to you in your face when you get the second one. You get to make mistakes and not be held accountable until you get the second one. Every mistake you made with that first one is going to show up when you get that second one. You're going to realize, I held that first one too much. I coddled that first one too much. I instead of talking, to it like a person, I bend down and come down to it. You're going to remember every last mistake you made, but you ain't going to recognize it right now. You're going to recognize it on number 2. Because it itself is going to remind you how you made those mistakes when you get that second one. You're going to realize, I ain't doing that no more. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 44. Yep. Ezekiel 44, and I start at verse 1. And we're talking about, at this point, future setup of the holy place. Okay? This is a very long vision, so we can't even get to the front. All right? Ezekiel 44, and start that at verse 1.
Then he brought me back the way of the gate of the outward sanctuary, which looketh towards the east, and it was shut. Then said Yahweh unto me, This gate shall be shut, it shall not be opened, and no man shall enter in by it, because Yahweh, thy Elohim of Israel, hath entered in by it, therefore it shall be shut.
Now, part of our problem, we see somebody do something and we want to do it. Then he brought me back by the way of the gate of the outward sanctuary, which looks toward the east, and it was shut. Then said Yahweh unto me, this gate shall be shut, it shall not be opened, no man shall enter in by it, because Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, have entered in by it. Therefore it shall be shut. All right, keep reading.
It is for the prince.
Okay, now we got a problem. What do you mean he get to come through the door? We don't want to come through the door. No, you can't come through that door. We see somebody sitting in a seat. Now we want to sit in the seat. Let me ask you a question. Did you earn the right to sit in that seat? Well, I'm the same age as him. But in fact, I'm older. You thought your age granted you the ability to sit in that seat? What kind of work did you put forth? Go ahead.
The prince, he shall sit in it to eat bread before Yahweh. He shall enter by the way of the porch of that gate, and shall go out by the way of the same. Then brought he me the way of the north gate before the house, and I looked, and behold, the glory of Yahweh filled the house of Yahweh. And I fell upon my face. And Yahweh said unto me, Son of man, mark well, and behold with thine eyes, and hear with thine ears, all that I say unto thee concerning all the ordinances of the house of Yahweh, and all the laws thereof. And mark well the entering in of the house, with every going forth of the sanctuary. And thou shalt say to the rebellious, even to the house of Israel, thou saith Yahweh Elohim, O ye house of Israel, let it suffice you of all your abominations, and that ye have brought into my sanctuary strangers, uncircumcised in heart,
Go ahead.
and uncircumcised in flesh, to be in my sanctuary, to pollute it, even my house, when ye offer my bread, the fat and the blood, and they have broken my covenant because of all your abominations.
Right. They have broken my covenant because of the things that they saw you do. So this was a pretty serious thing. All right? Go ahead.
And ye have not kept the charge of mine holy things, but ye have set keepers of my charge in my sanctuary for yourselves. Thus saith Yahweh Elohim, no stranger, uncircumcised in heart, nor uncircumcised in flesh, shall enter into the sanctuary of any stranger that is among the children of Israel.
All right. So understand that whole part of not having that circumcision, there's a grace period for that. Understand, when everything gets set up in those end days, everybody gonna have to be circumcised in heart and in flesh. This is why he said, why are you trying to get the circumcision out? Don't worry about it. You're gonna be held accountable later. But this is something that he was saying to the Gentiles. Okay? So there is a grace period, not grace forever. Go ahead.
And the Levites that are gone away far from me, when Israel went astray, which went astray away from me after their idols, they shall even bear their iniquity. Yet they shall be ministers in my sanctuary, having charge at the gates of the house, and ministering to the house. They shall slay the burnt offering and sacrifice for the people, and they shall stand before them to minister unto them.
You know, sometimes we hear the thing about priests and Levites, and we just merge all of that together and think that everybody is doing the same job. So we come up and we see somebody working on the walls. We think every last one of those people ought to be working on the walls. The wrong person touched that wall, he gonna die right there at that wall. They had their duties divided. Those duties were divided based upon their authority level. You might have the authority to stand at the door, but you do not have the authority to touch that. I don't understand why we think, why that's confusing. We go to a job, they give us key cards, you realize that at some point you get to a door that you can't open. You don't have authority to go in there. You put your key card at the front door, it open. You put your key card at the bathroom, it open. You saw a strange door, you said, what's in here? It didn't open. You put it up there again, it didn't open. You don't have authority to go there. How is it that we are confused when it comes down to this priesthood, thinking that every priest has the right to do everything? What book y'all reading? Go ahead.
Because they ministered unto them before their idols, and caused the house of Israel to fall into iniquity. Therefore have I lifted up mine hand against them, saith Yahweh Elohim, and they shall bear their iniquity. And they shall not come near unto me, to do the office of a priest unto me, nor to come near to any of my holy things, in the most holy place, but they shall bear their shame and their abominations which they have committed. But I will make them keepers of the charge of the house for all the service thereof, and for all that shall be done therein.
Right, I will make them keepers of the house. See, they might be working on the floor. They ain't touching that altar. See, folks get it twisted. They think because they do this, they can go over there and do that. It might be the last time you do that. And the backwards is there too. So you see somebody ministering at the altar, then when people working on the floor, they say, well, why he ain't working on the floor? That ain't his job. Jake, something else. Go ahead.
But the priests of the Levites, the son of Zadok, that kept the charge of my sanctuary when the children of Israel went astray from me, they shall come near to me to minister unto me, and they shall stand before me to offer unto me the fat and the blood, saith Yahweh Elohim. They shall enter into my sanctuary, and they shall come near to my table.
Right, the others don't have authority to come near to the table. So, guarantee you won't see the sons of Zadok working on no floor. The sons of Zadok won't be putting up the curtains. What they gonna be? Near Yahweh, where the most holy things are happening. They won't be at the gate. See, you earn your job by obedience. The more obedient and sacrifice that one has toward Yahweh, the higher his job is. Go ahead.
To minister unto me, and they shall keep my charge. It shall come to pass that when they enter at the gates of the inner court, they shall be clothed with linen garments, and no wool shall come upon them, whilst they minister in the gates of the inner court and within. They shall have linen bonnets upon their heads.
They shall have head coverings. Now, while we're right there, you know, there's some things that I want to go into because it went into a question that we had last week that I wasn't able to get to. It said, now these are priests. They shall have linen bonnets upon their heads, and shall have linen breeches upon their loins. They shall not gird themselves with anything that causes sweat. Keep reading.
And shall have linen breeches upon their loins. They shall not gird themselves with anything that causes them sweat. And when they go forth into the upper court.
Utter court.
Utter court.
So understand now, when you talk about the way this thing is set up, and people think that's, so wrong. When you have courts, then that means you're going to have the priests and the men in one area. You may have the women in another area, and then the Gentiles in another area, according to how they have, this thing set up. When you are opening the door, then that thing is going to be set up a certain way. There's still going to be order. It won't be like, we've gotten accustomed where everybody just going to, sit down with Honey Boo Boo and they gonna hold their hand. No, you won't be next to your wife. That ain't gonna work. So for all you people who can't, you have separation anxiety, if Boo Boo go to the bathroom and you can't see her, you about to have you some problems. Go ahead.
Verse 19. And when they go forth into the other court, even into the other court, to the people, they shall put off their garments, wherein they ministered, and lay them in the holy chambers. And they shall put on other garments, and they shall not sanctify the people with their garments.
All right, so take that right there. Let's go to Matthew chapter 9. Because one of those things that we have to deal with is they had to change their garments, or they would have sanctified the people with the garments that they had on. Matthew chapter 9, and let's start at verse 18.
And while he spake these things unto them, behold, there came a certain ruler, worshipped him, saying, My daughter is even now dead, but come and lay thy hand upon her, and she shall live. And Yeshua arose and followed him, and so did his disciples. And behold, a woman which was diseased with an illness of blood 12 years came upon him and touched the hem of his garment.
Now, you're going to run into all kind of things. We had a question that says, did Yeshua wear a head covering? Now, to even deal with something like that, we would have to be speculating. And you got to be careful about speculating, things that you read in here and then you go a couple of steps after that. Because there's already doctrine that some so-called Hebrews have, that right here, when she touched the hem of his garment, she was touching the fringes. Now they done insert it because they say, well, this is where the fringe is supposed to go, and then she was healed by the fringe. See? So now let them tell it. The law of the fringe has healed this woman. But wait a minute. What did we just read? The whole garment is holy because they had been close to Yahweh with it. See, because Saul had done the things that he was doing, they said people brought handkerchiefs or napkins of stuff that he had worn, and it would heal them. Why? Because the clothing was sanctified. There's certain times, well, all the time. I'm at I may finish, a Sabbath sermon, and sometimes we hang out sometimes to the wee hours of the morning, and then I get a question. Hey man, you want to go run over here? We can go grab that. Not in this outfit. Mm-hmm. No, I'm not going there in this. No, I can't go there in that. Right. Go ahead.
For she said within herself, if I may touch his garment, I shall be whole.
Right. If I may but just touch the garment. Well, the priest sanctifies the garment when he has it on. Go ahead.
But Yeshua turned himself about, and when he saw her, he said, Daughter, be of good comfort. Thy faith hath made thee whole.
Wait a minute, so it wasn't the fringe? You mean to tell me she touched the fringe? The fringe didn't heal her? See, this is what happened when people try to get you to deal with some doctrine and you keep reading. All they had to do was fight that false doctrine that they got them doing. All they had to do was keep reading. It wasn't that she touched no fringe. You think she touched the law? And the law healed her? If the law could have hit, did nobody else have fringes? Why wasn't she already healed? And she done went to all these people. Why she wasn't healed? If the law healed her? Go ahead.
And the woman was made whole from that hour. And when Yeshua came into the ruler's house and saw the minstrels and the people making a noise, he said unto them, Give place, for the maid is not dead, but sleepeth. And they laughed him to scorn.
Right. There are certain situations that Yahweh is not going to reveal right away. And here's the problem when you are his servant. That means people laughing at you. But he needs them to laugh at you because they are taking their stand. And he loves to let people take their stand before he showed them what they standing for. Go ahead.
But when the people were put forth, he went in and took her by the hand, and the maid arose, and the fame hereof went abroad into all that land.
Now, but when the people were put forth, he went in. That means he had to sit there and deal with them laughing at him. How many of us already we done cut out? Because somebody laughed at us. And they said laughed them to scorn. They laughing hard. You forgot what you were there to do? What happened if you get bothered and you just, walk off and leave and forget to do the job? Let's go to, I want to go to Numbers chapter 15. Because this is what some people swear healed the woman. Numbers 15. And let's start that at verse 37. Now, we have read where that, so when you come up and somebody tries to tell you that their little lampshade fringe is what healed, this woman, you understand, first of all, the way you wearing them fringes ain't even right. Go ahead.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the border of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the border a ribbon of blue, and it shall be upon you for a fringe, that ye may look upon it and remember all the commandments of Yahweh.
Right. So the woman needed to touch the law so that she can get healed. It don't even make sense. Go ahead.
And do them, and that ye seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which ye used to go a whoring, that ye may remember and do all my commandments, and be holy unto your Elohim. I am Yahweh, your Elohim, which brought you out of the land of Egypt, to be your Elohim. I am Yahweh, your Elohim.
All right. Let's go to Matthew chapter 23. Matthew 23, and let's start that at verse 1.
Then Yeshua spake to the multitude and his disciples, saying, The scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moshe's seat. All therefore, whatsoever they bid you observe, they observe and do. But do not ye after their works, for they say and do not.
They say and do not. Go ahead.
For they bind heavy burdens, and grieve to be burdened.
Grievous to be born.
Born and lay them on men's shoulders. But they themselves will not move them with one of your fingers.
Right. They talk about what other people ought to be doing, but they're not doing any of it themselves. Go ahead.
But all their works they do for to be seen of men. They make boards. They're broad.
They're phylacteries. Now, what are those? Keep reading.
I don't even know.
No, you about to find out. Read.
And enlarge the borders of their garments.
There you go. She touched the hem of his garment. What's on the hem of his garment? All right, so what the phylacteries? Your fringes. This is what they magnify everything about the fringe. That's Pharisee type behavior. I'm gonna make the fringe more important than everything. I don't have a problem with the fringe, but when the fringe becomes the law and not the thing that's supposed to remind you to keep the law, you don't put the cart before the horse. I don't know how you plan on moving. The horse supposed to be in front. It's supposed to pull the cart. You don't put the cart in front. Go ahead.
And love the uppermost rooms at feasts, and the chief seats in the synagogues, and the greetings in the markets, and to be called of men, Rabbi, Rabbi. But be not ye called Rabbi, for one is your master, even Mashiach, and all ye are brethren. And call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father, which is in heaven. Neither be ye called masters, for one is your master, even Mashiach. But he that is greatest among you shall be your servant. And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted.
Right. He that humbles himself in servitude to Yahweh will be then exalted unto men. But men gonna still have a problem with you. Hey, who made you God and rule over us? Yahweh did. Didn't the children of Israel turn on Moshe? They said, you know what, let us not see or hear Elohim at all. You go to him and then you come back to us and tell us what he said. Then we turn around after we done asked for it. Who made you Lord and King over us? You did. When you said, I need somebody to go and deal with Elohim and translate what he said and tell it to me, but I don't want to go stand before him. Okay? People who not quite right, when they stand before him, they get consumed. And we know we ain't quite right. So we ask for a middle and a go-between, then turn around and attack the go-between. Tell me that ain't us. Go ahead.
And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted. But woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For ye neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are entering to go in. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayers. Therefore ye shall receive the greater damnation. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye compass sea and land to make one proselyte. And when he is made, ye make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves.
Right. Proselytes is people that we're trying to convert over to the word. So then they're going to go out of their way. And sometimes you'll notice this, that you see people that they're very interested in talking to a younger brother or a younger sister. You know, that's really, their push. It's not about, helping anybody in the word. No. They want to specifically help certain kind of people so that they can be credited with making this person, a convert. But then that person look at how they operate and say, now they're worse than you. Go ahead.
Woe unto you, ye blind guides, which say, whosoever shall swear by the temple, it is nothing, but whosoever shall swear by the gold of the temple, he is a debtor. Ye fools and blind, for whether it is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifieth the gold. And whosoever shall swear by the altar, it is nothing, but whosoever sweareth by the gift that is upon it, he is guilty. Ye fools and blind, For whether is greater, the gift or the altar that sanctifieth the gift? Whosoever therefore shall swear by the altar, sweareth by it, and by all things thereon.
You know, sometimes we'll read something about that, you fools and blind, for whether it's greater the gift or the altar that sanctifies the gift. People say, what you talking about? All right. So we said, man, got to get that money. That's what we talking about. Got to get that money, man. We talking about the money, right? Okay. What make the money worth anything? What's supposed to make it? Is it the money or is it the thing that sanctifies the money? See, before it was the gold. See, he said the gold that's on. Okay, it's the gold that's behind the money that made the money worth something. Okay, you take away the gold, the money means nothing. See, now it's the oil that makes the money worth something. Take away the oil, you just got a bunch of pieces of paper, toilet paper, if you will. See, there's certain things that we go by so fast that we don't even ponder on it. No, it's the thing that sanctifies the thing that has more power. Everybody out fighting for $1. But the person that has gold has currency in every form. You go in the right circles, you can't change that dollar no more. Once it is deemed useless, it's useless. But if you got the gold that sanctified the dollar, then you're good. If you have the oil that sanctified the dollar, what you care about the dollar for? I don't care nothing about if I got the dollar. I got the stuff that made the dollar worth something. Go ahead.
Whosoever therefore shall swear by the altar, sweareth by it, and by all things thereon. And whosoever shall swear by the temple, sweareth by it, and by him that dwelleth therein. And he that shall swear by heaven, sweareth by the throne of Elohim, and by him that sitteth thereon. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye payeth tithes of mint and anise, and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law.
Weightier matters of the law. Okay, so we have those things that we, grew up listening to in the Word, and it was all about tithe. Y'all sure got a problem. This is the only law you teach. Go ahead.
Judgment, mercy, and faith, these ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. Ye blind guides, which strain at a gnat and swallow a camel. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye make clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within they are full of extortion and excess. Thou blind Pharisees, cleanse first that which is within the cup and platter, that the outside them may be clean also. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye are like unto whitened sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men's bones.
Right. See, outwardly, we want to dress ourselves up. It was so many things that we'll get. Remember when Yahweh got ready to deal with Israel, he said, I'm going to take away the hoods, the veils, the crisping pins, the wimples. I'm going to take all of this stuff that I gave you for your beauty, that you turned around and used for vanity. See? And when he talks about, you want to deal with all of the little things, part of the things when he was talking about these phylacteries was, this stuff that you put in these little boxes or whatever that you put stuff in. Think about how they deal with each one of those little prayers. Like, folks will ask you automatically, do you have I forgot what they call it. They put the little things at the doors, right? You got what's supposed to be on the little wailing wall where they ball up their little prayers and they stick the little prayers in the holes. We end up taking the thing, and the thing ends up being more important than what it is we're supposed to be walking in. And that's what, these items are. And Yahweh has a big problem with that. Here it is. Israel wouldn't do what they were supposed to be doing, right? So he brought serpents upon them. What'd he do? Made a serpent, put it on a pole. If they look upon the serpent, they was healed. They did something wrong, so they had to look in the eye of the serpent. They got healed. What do we do? Start worshiping the serpent. Start worshiping the serpent. So this is why he has this thing about us and images. Because it may start as one thing, but it's going to end up being something else. Because that's how we operate. It ain't going to be sin today. But I tell you what, give it a couple weeks. Go ahead.
And that's a real good point, because the thing on the door that they put scriptures in is a mezuzah.
That's what I couldn't think of that.
But a mezuzah actually means doorpost.
Mm-hmm.
So now we got a box on the doorpost for the doorpost. It's the doorpost where you just post the law on the doorpost. You don't need a box to post the law in.
So you got to post on your post. But you know what? I remember when in certain circles, that's all you kept hearing.
Yeah.
You got to, man, will you get out of my face with this thing, man? Will you get out? You know, it was just constantly, because we put all the power into those things. And then, you know, this is what Yahshua has a problem with. Oh, yeah, outwardly, you got all of the stuff that you're supposed to have. But inwardly, you got a problem. You full of dead men's bones on the inside. He couldn't have called you more unclean. Go ahead.
Even so, ye also outwardly appear righteous unto men, but within ye are full of hypocrisy and iniquity. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because ye build the tombs of the prophets and garnish the sepulchres of the righteous. And say, if we have been in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. Wherefore ye be witness unto yourselves that ye are the children of them which killed the prophets. Fill ye up then the measure of your fathers. Ye serpents, ye generation of vipers, how can ye escape the damnation of hell? Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets and wise men and scribes, and some of them ye shall kill and crucify.
And we the same as we ever was. Yahweh send us somebody to help us grow in the word, and we gonna kill and crucify them. Not physically, just with our mouths. We'll kill them and crucify them on Facebook. We'll crucify them on YouTube. All right? But those were the people that Yahweh sent to do a job. So we the same people. We haven't changed at all. Go ahead, you got something?
You know, I have to say this. You were talking about phylacteries earlier. I always thought that was the craziest thing I ever seen. You know, where the scripture talks about bind the law on your hand and put it in your frontlets. So they will actually take that box and tie it to their head and put scripture in it and have a phylactery around the wrist to bind it on their hand. And I was like, you know, my goodness, you got to have a box to put the law in your mind.
Well, see, if it rained and the water from the thing, and it's going to make the words come up, and then it's going to come, it's going to roll down. And he said, what's that on your face? That's the law right there. You don't see it? It's soaking in. Right. But then the thing becomes more important than the law that we're supposed to be keeping. You know, we strange like that. But see, this is why when something is brought to us and it comes across smooth, you got to fight it right at that moment. Because it's like any kind of sickness. You know, they said that, you know, at one point, you know, drugs was just an inner city problem. They got new drugs now. Now they talking about this, war on drugs. Now, I can't even get 2 boxes of Claritin at the same time. What happened? It was a joke to them because they put all the drugs in the inner city poor black communities. They didn't think that it was gonna make it back to the suburbs. So while they were laughing while it was in the suburb, while it was in the hood, then it started spreading. Now all of a sudden it's an epidemic. Now they can't stop it. They had a problem in the beginning, and had they joined all forces together, maybe they could have stood a chance. But they played game. They didn't understand that the evil drug lords was coming. You didn't think they were going to leave the suburbs alone, did you? Even though, you know, that may be their people, they don't care. They're like, look, you know how much money is over here? We're going to get that money too. If we made billions in a poor black neighborhood, how much more money could they make where the rich are? They just had to get a drug that was suitable to them. A drug that they didn't have to feel like the poor black trash. There you go. And now, those drugs are causing more problems than crack cocaine. We thought crack cocaine was the devil. These folks be on crack cocaine for 25, 30 years. Folk get on this stuff, they dead by Thursday. You can accidentally touch some of this stuff and die. How did it get here? Because it wasn't a problem to anybody when it was in the hood. Go ahead.
And some of them shall ye scourge in your synagogues, and persecute them from city to city, that upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of the righteous Abel unto the blood of Zacharias, son of Barachias, whom you slew between the temple and the altar. Verily I say unto you, all these things shall come upon this generation.
All right. I want to go to one more thing. This says, Shalom, a friend of mine asked, was there anything in the Torah that speaks for or against prenuptial agreements? I didn't know and didn't want to lead him astray. So I'm posing this question to you all. Thanks. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 24. Might not like this answer though. Deuteronomy 24, start at verse 1.
When a man hath taken a wife and married her, and come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes.
All right, it didn't work out. Love is beautiful when it work out. When it don't, it is horrible. Go ahead.
Because he hath found some uncleanness in her.
All right, didn't say what it was. Go ahead.
Then let him write her a bill of divorcement.
All right, he wrote it.
And give it to her hand.
Put it in her hand.
And send her out of her house.
All right, what she took? Where she go? She went out of the house. What?
The bill of divorcement.
There it is. She had the bill of divorce. There it is. It didn't say she had the sofa. It didn't say she had none of that stuff. Now, what you write with it, that's your business. How you deal with it. I can tell you what it say right here. He gave her in her hand a bill of divorcement and sent her out of his house. See, our problem is we want all this equal treatment up to a certain point. You know, I was looking at something. You know how you on your phone and something just go by, and it was talking about, you know, submission as when it comes down to relationships. And, you know, the guy said, do, you know, certain women submit to their men? And he went through every culture. And he's asking a black woman. And then he asked the black woman, does the black woman submit to the black man? And boy, she hemming hard and she went all over the place before she eventually said no. Now, she agreed that every other nationality submitted to their man except the black woman. Now, that's not all our fault. I understand that. You know, there have been some serious games played with us to make sure that our family is destroyed. And one of those is this game of the way the child support is set up. They love to get the man and the woman and they'll separate them, and they're playing both ends against the middle. Because first of all, they get a percentage of what they get to negotiate. They got a finder's fee in here. So there's all kind of games, being played. If we did this thing according to the way Yahweh has set it up, we would have less issues. But we think, we look at some situations and we say, oh, there's no way I would even deal with a arranged marriage. Because you have certain situations where they said, no, this man is going to marry this girl. People say, no, I like to make my own choice. We've been making our own choices for hundreds of years. How's that working out? Have you ever looked at the divorce rate? How's that working out that we're making our own choices? Now, why is it a problem? Because we think we know what we want and who we are. And you making those decisions, and you right at being Captain Dumb and she stupid. And you making this lifelong decision, and people who are around you already know, hey, I saw you from the point you were knee-high to a frog. That ain't gonna work out. And they'll fight you. I watched a man done in tears. Told me, he said, his daughter said, Dad, I want this big, extravagant wedding. He said, baby, look, why don't you just, miss this whole big wedding, get a little small something, and let me get this money and put it on a house. Because he know the laws in this land. Daughter said, no, I got to have the big, fantabulous wedding. Against his own judgment, he did it. A couple of years later, she got divorced. She has nothing. He said if she'd have let me buy the house, she'd at least have a house. Now, how did he know all that? He was experienced in life. So, what some of these arranged situations are working 20 times better than the ones we picked out for ourselves. Because we pick it out before we know who we are. But somebody else already been seeing you. They know you better than you do. Keep reading.
And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife.
Mm-hmm.
And if the latter husband hate her, and write her a bill of divorcement, and giveth it in her hand, and sendeth her out of his house, or if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife, her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife. After that she is defiled, for that is an abomination before Yahweh.
Mm-hmm.
And thou shalt not cause the land of sin, which Yahweh thy Elohim giveth thee for an inheritance.
All right. So when it comes down to it, there's this whole thing of a prenuptial is pretty much setting the foundation for divorce. Why would Yahweh have something that he didn't believe in? Why would he have something to really govern something that he really don't want to be a part of? Why I want to help you get divorced? Yahshua said, yeah, it was written from the beginning, but it was not so. He gave you the bill of divorcement because of the hardness of your hearts. But from the beginning, it was not so. He never wanted any part of it. And this thing helps us not be all in. Because let's say you got your prenup. You already counting the sheep and the goats. Every time y'all get into an argument, you count. I'm gonna miss little Jeffrey Goat right there, but that one going with her. You already counting your separation. He said he didn't want no part of that. It says, except you give your wife except it be for fornication. Why are y'all separating? And I understand this now. If she fornicated and committed adultery, that separation supposed to be by death anyway. Because she supposed to die. I don't think we really thinking about this situation. He didn't want no part of it. Even before I got in this word, it was, I guess I had watched enough divorce. I had watched enough things. There was something in my head. It was in my heart. It was in me that I said, I don't ever want to be a part of a divorce. Why? That's what happens when you grow up in one. You don't ever want to be a part of that. So you got to examine whether or not having a prenup helps you set up a back door for you to run out of. I watched a pastor one day announce his wedding and his eventual divorce. We heard about his engagement and his future divorce at the same time. And all this was said in front of the church. And here I am at this point, I'm in the church, but I'm thugged out at this time. Okay, now I'm a thugged out dude sitting in the back, and I'm telling the female I went to church with, I don't think that's right there. So I ain't never heard nobody say, this is my new wife, and everybody say, oh, this is who he finna marry. But I'm letting you know now, if it don't work out, I'm getting a divorce. What? You know he eventually got a divorce? What happened? He talked it up. Tupac made all them death songs, right? Where he at? Biggie made all them death songs, right? Where he at? Why would you talk that into existence? That might be something that you and your friend might want to meditate on in dealing with that situation. But that's all that we're going to do for tonight. Let's rise and face the east, and we're going to leave out with a prayer. All males, remove your head covering, and females always pray with their head covered. Abba Father, Most High Covenant Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. Abba Father, we thank you for giving us another opportunity to read out of the legacy that you have left onto us. We pray, Father, that our hearts and minds were opened by the things that you have allowed for us to read on this night. For we know that many people suffered for you to put together this canon, for you to preserve this word. A lot of suffering. Jews and Gentiles, Abba Father, suffered to preserve this word, and let no man's work go uncounted because of who he is naturally, or what nation he is from. For your word says that whomever will walk according to the dictates of your holy and righteous law, he shall be accepted by you. We pray, Abba Father, that you would continually keep a hedge of protection round about us so that we can continue to do the works that you have allowed for us to do. We pray, Father, that even as we move on to other places, that you would let that hedge follow us wherever we may land. We ask these prayers not only for those that gather with us physically, but even those that gather by way of phones and by way of internet. In Yeshua HaMashiach's holy and divine name we pray. Amen and hallelujah.